what I focus on is what's the right structure for the organization first to where we want to go in the next year. And we don't have any names at all. We just know the seats. And then ultimately, we detail out what each one of those seats, what their core roles are and what their objectives are, right? So very high level, what is this seat accountable to do? Because I think that's one of the biggest things in both of these scenarios is everybody wants their team to be more accountable.
Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. If you're new to the podcast, check out my interview with Mike Michalowicz. It's episode number 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. On the Profit Answer Man, we learn money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo-jumbo using a simple system. Your accountant is busy documenting your transactions and creating a rearview mirror of what happened. My guess is you don't even look at the reports they sent you. If you're like most business owners, you struggle with this, and it's not your fault. We aren't taught money in school, and accountants aren't taught how to be profitable. The Profit First system created by Mike Michalowicz works, and he certified me to help you implement the system in your business. Remember, the new equation is sales minus profit equals expenses. Let's face it, without cash flow, you can't pay your employees, buy needed materials, or pay your mortgage and support your family. I help you to do that and more, so you can focus on the parts of the business you love and receive the rewards for your labor and investment into your business. The stronger you are as a business owner, the more jobs you create, the better we are as a country. Small business owners are the backbone of America, and for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. Just remember, more revenue does not equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. I am a big fan of EOS, Gino Wickman, and the book Traction. Today, we're going to dig into this system so you can run your business with ease and move towards being a business owner instead of a business operator. Just like Profit First, you can implement this yourself, but we can help you go faster and smoother. Matt Foss is the former owner of 2 companies, CEO of a PE-backed business, and a Division I football captain. He understands the emotional and physical toll it takes to build something exceptional. He's experienced highs and lows and thus many painful mistakes. Matt justified employing colleagues who were underperforming for longer than he should have, wrestling with his beliefs to ensure that he met Q4 shareholder targets and was frustrated with his team because he was unable to communicate a clear vision to execute on. Matt knows it doesn't have to be this way. His mission is to show you there is a better way to gain the traction you crave. Let's meet Matt and see how he did this. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Matt Foss. It's great to have you join us today.
You too. Thank you, man. I look forward to this.
As do I. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yeah. So I am a certified EOS implementer, coach, facilitator. Like my background is I'm a true entrepreneur. I started 2 businesses. I grew up in Indiana, actually, played football for Indiana University. So I've got this kind of very much let's go get it attitude. No such thing as can't. So I started a business early on in my career, which was a commercial development company, and then started a construction company, and then ended up selling those because I went to business school, but they don't teach you how to deal with all the people issues. All that stuff was, for me, was a burden. So I thought, hey, I'm a great operator. I'll go work for somebody else, and ultimately worked for another company and ended up being right back in the seat again. I became the CEO. and we sold to private equity. So I've been an entrepreneur starting a business. I've been an entrepreneur running a business, and I've been a leader in a larger organization, and then gone to selling the business to private equity. And during that time, I used this thing called EOS, which is the entrepreneurial operating system. When we had a larger leadership team and we were looking to sell, I knew that I had to get a clear understanding and vision for all the people in my organization. And after we sold, I stayed on board for a little while with that PE firm, and then went off on my own and became a EOS implementer because I just believed in the system. I believed in what it did, and I saw the impact it had on me, my leadership team, and ultimately the value of the business.
It's funny. A lot of people buy franchises because it's a system. Here's how to run your business. And
Yep.
what this is the way I look at it is it's a system that you mold to your business that allows you to now run your business with ease so that you're not running around with your hair on fire all the time, freaking out, and everything is systematic, organized, and done simply. The problem is you got to set it up. And this is where entrepreneurs don't like to do the work, right? But if you suck it up and you do the work, then you get to reap the rewards and things work a lot better. Now, and I think so. EOS is entrepreneurial operating system. It's Gino Wickman's creation, I guess, in a sense. And a lot of this is actually what's in the book Traction, correct?
Yeah, Traction was where it all started. Gino he took over his dad's business, and he just had this knack of being able to figure out business problems. And he took all of these things that all business owners know or have read in a book and kind of put it together in a simple, I think I'll probably say simple 10 times during this, like, is a simple process. We haven't overcomplicated. He made it very easy. And ultimately, it's just blocking and tackling. And truly, Traction tells that story of someone like myself coming into a business and kind of working on the problems in the business, either people problems or strategic problems or data problem or issues on how we solve them. And ultimately, out of that book came the entrepreneurial operating system.
And I'm a big fan. I very much love it because I just love anytime we can implement systems, because then life becomes 10x easier overall.
Yep.
And that's kind of the thing. So what are the biggest challenges companies are facing that usually prompt them to say, I need to do something here?
Entrepreneurs have a really hard time asking for help, right? There's times in their business that they're struggling, they hit that ceiling, or there are things that they were really good at. They were an electrician, or they were an engineer, or they were in construction, and they know how to do that thing really well. And all of a sudden they wake up and they own a 10, 20, $30 million business, and they're no longer plumbing, doing the engineering, or that digging a ditch. They're running a business with a multitude of people, and they realize that they need some help on how to organize the business, do the little things that 10x your business of your culture or your vision. And usually people find that either they come to that understanding themselves, like, I need some help, or they're in a peer group, or they have a friend that goes, hey, I'm struggling with those same things. Here's a book. Here's Traction. Read this. And they read it and they go, oh my gosh, like, that is me. That is my issue. And I get a call.
Nice. Gino, in his other book, Rocket Fuel,
Yep.
talks about entrepreneurs, and he talks about the visionary and the person who casts the vision, brings the energy, and does all of that. And then he talks about, I guess the right word is integrator.
Yep.
And that is the person who takes the vision and turns it into reality.
Yes.
Because most visionaries can't actually get anything done. They can't turn their ideas into actionable work. And more importantly, they're bouncing from thing to thing, which is what they love to do. And you can't not let them.
Yep.
But if I've got 10 ideas, the reality is you can only focus on one or two. And so I think a big part of the integrator is to then say, what are the one or two that are doable and have the best return that we can then focus on? And I always tell, whenever I meet integrators, I'm like, it is your job to be the anchor on that visionary, because otherwise they're going to be flying all over, driving everyone cuckoo in the business.
It's the truth.
And wondering why nothing gets done.
Yep. Well, I am a true visionary, right? Like I can see 10, 20 years down the road, and I know exactly what I got to do today and tomorrow to get to that end objective. What I found out was that I wasn't clear to my team on what they need to do to execute to get to that 10-year thing. And I'm that crazy individual. And I think if you're a visionary, this will hit home. Like I have glass in my shower and I have a crayon that I will write on the glass because I think of ideas. And what would happen before I really used EOS was I'd come into my office and I'd be like, I got this new great idea. Let's go do this. And the team would be like, all right, let's go. Like, because I'm the owner, I'm the CEO. Like, okay, let's do what he says. Well, the problem is the next day I would write another 15 things on the glass door in my shower and I'd come in and I'd have another idea. And my team would be, they didn't say it, but they'd be like, what the hell is the priority? Like, which way are we going? And ultimately, like, I was the dog and the business was the tail. Like, they didn't know which way to go. And when I really embraced this fact that, hey, I've got a lot of really good ideas, but there's only one of them in there that really has value. The problem when they're your ideas, you think they're all good. And it's really hard to disseminate, what's best for the business. So when you get an integrator in the business, what they do is they truly protect the rest of the team from all those crazy ideas. What the visionary and the integrator can really have this conversation and conflict saying, hey, you've got those 5 great ideas. I think this one's good and we'll take this to the team. Hold on to those other 5 and we'll come back to them. And what I found was when we come back to those other 4 or 5 ideas, a month or 2 later, I'd be like, whose idea was that? And I'd realize that, like it was a great idea in the moment, but like it was just, I was causing chaos in my own business.
No, I get that. I was going to say when you came back, it would be like, you've already moved on and forgotten about it.
Yep.
So I find a lot of people struggle to truly implement this.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what all the reasons are, but maybe you can kind of help us understand.
So there's 2 sides to the struggle and I was one of these. As an entrepreneur and running a business, you believe you can do anything, right? So a lot of people try to implement EOS in their business while running the business. And there are people that are successful doing it, but they have to be full in and they have to understand what they're implementing, because where I struggled was I tried to implement it and then the naysayers in the business or people that had questions would come and say, oh, well, how does this work? And I wouldn't have the answer. And what it would do is the confidence of the system was degraded because I didn't know it. And once I hired somebody like myself, and this isn't a plug, but when I hired somebody, I didn't have to worry about knowing the system. I was just learning it. So I'd say that's one. And there's plenty of self-implementing companies out there that do a great job, but that's one fail point. The second is that owners, operators believe that EOS is like the silver bullet. All right, I'm going to hire Matt or I'm going to implement EOS and it's going to change all the problems. And if they're not invested as they have to be with you, like, hey, you can give me financial statements. You can give me a cash flow statement. But if I don't actually do the things that I said I'm going to do, like it's a wasted piece of paper. So I think those people that come in looking for a silver bullet rather than going, this is going to be a 2-year work, a true workout that every day we're going to get better and better and better. And we're going to see us getting stronger and stronger every week. Like that's the mentality you have to have. And then you're going to have those dips up and down, but ultimately over a longer time frame, you're going to see the massive growth.
And I appreciate that you said, it's 2 years. This isn't overnight success. It takes work, and you've got to continue to work at it. And you have to be committed to it. And not only do you have to be committed to it, but I think the entire organization has to be committed to it. One of the cool things that I like is in the book, it says everyone has a number. And basically, it's about the fact that everyone's got a goal that they understand and know what they have to do to be successful. And all those things roll up to make the company successful. One of the things that I see, depending on the business owner, is sometimes we pick the wrong metric to measure, and we will get what we ask for. And sometimes it creates massive unintended consequences.
Yes.
And I think the cool thing, though, is if with everyone having a goal and a number, I call them the thumbs up, thumbs down meeting. You can meet very quickly every week and go, hey, how'd we do? Thumbs up, thumbs down. And you're just looking at the result and you know exactly, was it right? Was it wrong? And if it's 1 week, okay. But if it's a trend, then we know we have a problem. And the other thing I love about it is the right people in the right seat with the right capabilities, desires, and love of doing that job. Because too often we put all the wrong people in all the wrong seats because I need somebody and you're here and you're okay at doing it.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to kind of comment on those two big topics of right people, right seat, and then right measurements with quick, easy meetings.
Yeah. So I'll kind of start with structure first. You led into, hey, we just need to put a butt in the seat, right? Or, hey, we're going to hire Rocky because he's really good. Do we know what he's going to do? Now let's just bring him in. We know he's going to help us. What I focus on is what's the right structure for the organization first to where we want to go in the next year. And we don't have any names at all. We just know the seats. And then ultimately we detail out what each one of those seats, what their core roles are and what their objectives are. Right? So very high level, what is this seat accountable to do? Because I think that's one of the biggest things in both of these scenarios is everybody wants their team to be more accountable. Well, accountable to what? You're just not, what you have to be unbelievably clear is what does the seat look like? And these are the things you have to do to have success. So if we look at, have the right structure and we've got, 100 people in our organization, and we have all these seats and we're like, yep, that's the right structure. Then you start putting in the people and you realize you have to look at people in two different ways, right person, right seat, like you said. And the right person is based on your values. So if you have clearly defined values, which we do in EOS, and I walk all my clients through it, you have clearly defined values. If that person doesn't hit the bar or they don't fit your values, and you haven't explained them to them, well, it's your job that you got to explain what your values are and where they're falling short. And we got to coach them up. If they're in the wrong seat, that means that, hey, they're not doing the job that we told them that seat was accountable to do. Well, if we're not clear on what our values are and what the roles are for every seat, like how can we expect the people to know if they're the right person or right seat? So that's kind of a leader's job to truly define those things. And when we find somebody's not in the right seat, we got to look, are they the right person? Yes, they are. Like Rocky fits our values, but he's not in the right seat. Well, is there another seat in the organization that better fits their unique ability, right? The Dan Sullivan unique ability. Let's make them happy and let them enjoy that seat. Well, what happens if they're in the right seat, best salesperson you have, but they don't fit your cultural values? Well, you got to coach them up on where they need to improve, or you got to coach them out because that person will absolutely destroy your organization. So if they know what our values are, how they show up, how we do work, how we treat people, how we treat our vendors, our customers, internally, externally, and then what are they accountable to do in their seat, you figure out right person, right seat. Then the measurables that you're talking about, we call them scorecards. I help clients build out these scorecards. And what that does is somebody knows every day I'm going to come in, and if I do these things and at the end of the week, you need me to make 100 phone calls and I make 110, like that's good. If I make 99, that's bad, like you're saying. And we say done or not done. It's very simple. Did you do it or did you not? And that's where it's clear that for me, working for you, Rocky, I know if I come and I make 100 phone calls or 101, I'm doing what I need to do to have success. Where I really build these scorecards on what they think is the most important thing. And then where someone like you really can come in, you look at the financial data, you look at the true data points and go, is that the right thing that we should be tracking? Or, hey, we're missing this. Let's start tracking this on a weekly basis to turn things around. And that's what I consistently always say is your scorecard is a evolving piece of paper, metrics that we're looking at on areas that we need to improve the business on a weekly basis that gets us to that quarterly, yearly. And then the other thing is truly when somebody comes in every week in a meeting and says, I'm on track or I'm off track, like if they really care, it's going to be painful for them to say I'm off track. And I would say another thing for me as a visionary, that clarity on culture, values, clarity on the roles, and then clarity on the KPIs or the scorecard made these decisions of people unemotional, right? I'm such an emotional human being where you have these data set points. Our values are this. This is the clear defined role, and these are the metrics they have to hit. When they're not doing that and we're clear, like we've set them up to succeed and we can coach them up. But ultimately, if they're not doing it, they're not accountable to do what they need to do in that seat.
And a couple things, and I don't think business owners appreciate creating culture and then more importantly, hiring to culture.
Yep.
And if you think about it, when you hire somebody who might be great at what they do, but is a bad cultural fit, they turn into a cancer in your organization and they make your best people leave.
Yep.
And I think it's not looked at enough and it's not addressed enough. And that's one of the things that I also like about EOS is that it forces you and it gives you a system to sit down and do all the things you're supposed to do that we all go, I'll build that later,
yep.
Right? I'll get to it, but you never get to it. And so this kind of forces you to get to it. And there's a saying that I love, and I think it fits this. There's only one way to judge by results, often harsh, but always fair.
Yep.
Right. And so just like you said, the goal was 100, 99, thumbs down. But when you start judging people like that, somebody misses for 8 weeks or hopefully not 8 weeks, 4 weeks in a row, they're going to self-select themselves out.
Yep.
And they're also going to self-select them out during the interview process if they don't want to be in a system like that.
100%.
And so it just makes it so much easier. Now, the one thing I have found, everything has its missing parts. I have found that what I see as the biggest missing part is actually the financial dashboard. And that's why I always love talking to EOS people because I'm like, hey, you know how you're missing that financial dashboard? That's what we do. We bring in the financial dashboard to make sure that those numbers actually drive those profit results that you want and that we are looking at the right metrics and that it all flows through.
Yep.
So I think it's for Profit First and EOS, and I know Mike and Gino are friends too.
Yep.
They go way back. These two systems work together so perfectly. And of course, we do so much more layered on top of Profit First. That's just the beginning step. But when you put it all together, it's pretty cool. So because this is what I'm all about,
yep.
How does EOS help drive profit?
I'll answer that question. I want to go back to something that you said is that for the entrepreneur that's watching this and you look at it, you go, hey, I need some help. Some don't know how to clearly define the culture that they want or the seats and all that stuff. If you don't, that's a big thing that we both can help with. But what happens, and I see it a lot, people define their culture, they define the roles, and they define all those KPIs and scorecards. And you said, if that person's at 8 weeks, well, if they aren't doing something about that and holding that person accountable, then guess whose issue it really is? It's the leader's issue, right? The leader's not doing what they need to do to lead. So yes, those people will self-select out if they have a leader that's pushing in and holding them accountable. If they don't, they're going to get somebody that just scoots on by, and it's not that person's fault. It's the leader's fault. So I think where the profit comes in with EOS is the accountability isn't this thing that you drive. It's this thing that you develop by your cult, your values, the structure, the KPIs, and all these measurable things that we have. And then it gives it a very simple system that somebody can manage and lead off of. Because to lead and manage off of guessing is like your 13-week cash flow. If you don't have one, like you don't know what the health of your business is going to look like in the next 90 days. Right. So I think that's where EOS really helps kind of define that. Hey, how do I hold my people accountable? And what am I holding them accountable to? And then what you find is the profit comes because you have the right people doing the things you need them to do in the right seats. And then you get with somebody like you that goes really deep into the financial aspect to know, okay, can we afford to hire this new person on because we need to replace them? Okay, should we buy this piece of equipment? And then you help on that side. And it's a beautiful mix for sure.
The other thing I like is the meetings are short.
Yep.
Right? These are not hour-long meetings with your staff. How quickly do most meetings run?
So we have an L10 meeting. We have a 90-minute meeting, right? So you're getting through the key things and you're solving some issues. But what we really do is we cut down on having 6 meetings a week, right? And we cut down on the fact of, hey, Rocky, do you just have 5 minutes? Right? Like that, it makes you pull your hair out when somebody comes in, and what I always say, they take the monkey off their back and put it on yours. And you're like, oh God, how am I going to get all these things done? Where you put it all into a meeting and you have a productive meeting that has outcome based in what we're going to do. And then as you get down through the organization at a departmental level, it could be 60 minutes. When you get even further down, it can be a 15-minute stand-up meeting, right? But it's really keying in on the key issues. How are we going to solve them? And how are we going to be accountable next week to make sure we deliver on what we said we're going to do?
As you work with people, or as you know companies that self-implement this, what are the areas that they tend to struggle with?
Solving issues. And it's because solving an issue when you're in it and you're self-implementing, when you're solving the issue, you're usually dealing with the surface level issue. I just told this story the other day. I just pull it out of my, rear end. But if you think about, you have an issue in the business. If the issue for me personally is I come home and my wife says, hey, the lamp in the living room is not working. And I walk over to the lamp and what do? Like, I'm going to fix it. I look at it and it's unplugged and I plug it in. And I go back to her. I go, the lamp's fine. She goes, that wasn't the issue. And I go, you said it wasn't working. And she goes, no. It was the color of the lamp doesn't match anymore. And I don't like the shade and I don't like the curvature. You plugged it in, like that's not the issue. And what business owners do is they solve the surface level issue and the issue keeps coming back. So to get to the root cause of the true issue by asking questions, hey, my wife's name's Janelle. Janelle, so what's wrong with the lamp? I don't like it. What is it that you don't like about it? I don't like that it's gold, not black. Okay, well, what else don't you like about it? I don't like that it's, got this shade. Okay, what could we do about that? I'd like to buy another one. Okay, I can solve that issue, right? When she just says there's a problem and I go over and plug it in, she gets mad at me because I wasn't listening. Because I go to solve the problem rather than ask questions on what the real root of the problem is. Because once you solve that, like the problem won't come back again.
Yeah, it seems like we're solving the same problem over and over again.
And if you're a business owner that feels like the problem keeps coming back, it's your fault because you're solving that surface level problem, right? There's that football side, right? Like, but it truly is like if the problem keeps coming back, it's not your people. You're not asking the right questions to truly get to what the root of the problem is. And here's another quick example. I had a client that they were struggling in sales and we were going into product marketing, all this stuff. The sales leader didn't know how to run an effective sales meeting. That was the root cause. And once we got to that and really understood and they admitted, like, the root cause is I don't think I'm good at running a sales meeting. Okay, we can deal with that. We solved the problem. And ultimately, sales went up with that very tiny little tweak.
In today's world, you know what I have found? I take, like, we're recording here, I'll have a full transcript of this, but I can take that transcript and I can throw it in ChatGPT and go, hey, where did I struggle in the sales process? If this was a sales call, what could I have done better? And I am amazed at the free sales coaching I can get. That really helps me to understand. Oh, and sometimes it'll pop up like, you know what? I missed that step. I forgot. Now, the next time I do it, I'm going to make sure I don't miss that step. And I've changed my processes because of it. And the same thing for meetings and so forth. Like, if you're struggling with this, we've got tools today. You know, at the end of the day, you can read traction, you can read profit first, you can self-implement, you can use ChatGPT to help you. Like,
absolutely.
You know, we're here to make it go faster, but I think the ability to do things today is better than it's ever been. And people just got to take action. And I think that's where I see the biggest struggle. People don't make the commitment and take the action. I don't know what you see on your side.
100%. You know, I think the other part is when somebody doesn't take action, we know we have a sales problem. Well, the operational person sits in that meeting and does this because I've got my shit together. Like, I'm doing fine, right? But they're not being open, honest, and candid with the sales leader and saying, hey, maybe there's a gap here. Or, hey, how can I help you? Because that conflict they look at as a negative, but it's not conflict. Like, we're just trying to do the best thing for the business. And, you know, the people that aren't self-motivated, like, they need somebody to say, hey, like, we're not doing what we need in sales. Like, how can I help you? And as we all know, like, when somebody helps you, you feel like you're a healthier team. And that's where that really good, open, honest conflict improves the team health of a business, and people get through those ruts that much faster.
Well, everyone's rowing the same direction then, right? You're not going, and that comes back to culture. I see it more in really large businesses versus smaller ones where I guess even in smaller ones, everybody's blaming everyone else instead of taking ownership of their particular area and doing what they need to fix it.
There's one thing I want to cut you off real quick is that what you do on the financial side, the benefit, and when we've worked together in the case of the finance person works with you, and then they have this clear understanding of the data, how it matches with the budget, how it matches with their vision. And now that CFO, that controller is holding everybody accountable to those numbers, right? And they seem like they're this taskmaster. Well, if everybody holds themselves accountable and each other, it's no longer the finance person's the bad person, right? We're all living off of data that we agree with. And it's, you know, it's just not one person driving, we can or can't do that. It's like, okay, am I hitting my metrics? Am I doing the things that we said we were going to do? And then we work through it as a team. It just doesn't have to be this one-sided, like, bad entrepreneur owner telling everybody or the finance person telling them no.
No, and I get that. I think one of the things that I see is you get a business owner who's been successful, right? And they've got millions of dollars in sales, but they didn't build a good foundation. And so now emotionally, you know, I tell people you got to get financially naked in front of me, right? And in your things, you're coming in and saying, you know, what are your roles and what is your vision and, you know, what are your systems and processes? How do you address the emotional side of the people having to, in a sense, they have to admit to themselves, I really didn't know how to run this business well. And the truth is, most entrepreneurs don't until they admit it and take the steps. And it's not something that's really taught in college. You have a business degree. I have a business degree. They don't teach you how to do this stuff. What do you say to somebody like that who's afraid to take that step because of where they're at?
Well, the first time I think we ever really met each other and talked, we talked about this like a client's either a fit or they aren't, right? I'm evaluating a client, hopefully just as much as they're evaluating me. And if somebody is willing to say, I've got an issue and I need help with it. Like that for me is the first step. Like they're open and they're willing. But when I know they have a problem and they're not willing to admit it, I know that they're not going to actually put in the work to get there. And if they've already made millions of dollars and they don't have a foundation and it's not important for them to be able to build that foundation or solve some of these problems, like that's just not a great fit. And I'm not going to try to get through to that individual. I'm going to go to the individual that says, I'm struggling. I don't know. I need help. And, when that other person is ready, like I'll meet them where they're at. But ultimately, I'm not going to force anything on anybody that they don't want.
And I don't think it's about forcing anybody on anything. I think it's more just helping them feel safe enough to say, I need help. Because here's the thing, I look at their numbers. They might have millions in sales,
Yep.
but they don't have much to show for it in their pocket. And that's the reality of it. We see that way too often. So it's more helping them be safe enough, creating, I guess, the safety for them to say, look, I need help with this. And also realizing this is real. Like it's normal for most business owners.
Yeah. So then and I'll turn that a little bit is I agree. Like I will ask really insightful questions to see what their response is, because if it's building that safety that they can openly communicate and talk about problems, like I'll use myself as an example, how much I've messed up, the clients that I've worked with, like where people started, where they got to, and then ultimately they look at it and go, oh, it's not just me. Cause that's what most entrepreneurs in business, they feel like what they're going through is they're just going through it. And a million business owners before them have gone through that same exact thing. It's just like you said earlier, they have to be willing to take action. And that action is asking for help sometimes.
And that it is.
Yeah.
And of course, as we said before, they can do it themselves. All I care is they figure it out in whatever way that they need to. If people would like help and want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to find you and your work?
I think I do a lot on LinkedIn. So if you go to Matt Foss, MattFoss 37, that's my LinkedIn. You can get all my contact information. But ultimately, if you go to my website, it's eosworldwide.com/Matt.Foss, Foss. And you can go to my website and learn a little bit more about me. And if you need to contact me, you can do it there.
Cool. And we'll make sure to put those in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, it was a pleasure. It was great seeing you, man.
Did you resonate with any of what Matt and I talked about? From having a million ideas to the emotions of running your business and struggling. It's actually normal. Most businesses struggle, and you can see it from the stats. Most don't make it to the 10-year mark or to 7 figures in revenue. With a little help, you can be the one that does. Read the books, ask for help, and implement, because you don't need more resources. You need to be more resourceful. Remember to focus on the bottom line.
If you'd like for us to be a part of your profitability journey, we have different programs available ranging from do-it-yourself to one-on-one coaching. Our course, The Profit Blueprint, teaches you everything you need to know to transform your profitability. There are 3 different tiers ranging from DIY to done with you so that businesses of all sizes can get the support that's best. Join the waitlist in the show notes to get more information and be a part of the next cohort. If you want a done-for-you service, you can hire us as your Chief Profitability Officers. We only work with a handful of clients, so they all get our full attention. We work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $10 million in revenue. You can use the scheduling link in the show notes to get on our calendar for a good fit conversation to see if we're the right people to support you and how we can help you.
Remember to check out my other podcast, Richer Soul, where we talk about how to live the ultimate life and be the best business owner you can be. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.